The galaxy had long grown quiet. For 5,000 years, humans had vanished from every known star system. They were no longer rulers, traders, or explorers. Their stories were now myths, spoken in hushed tones across the councils of alien civilizations. Some said humans had destroyed themselves. Others whispered that they had been defeated by a greater force. Few believed humans had survived at all. On the planet Zithera, a gleaming hub of interstellar trade and diplomacy, representatives of dozens of species gathered for the annual Galactic Assembly. The hall was enormous, a vast oval chamber with floating platforms for each delegation. Beings of all shapes and sizes moved among the platforms, debating trade disputes, border conflicts, and the shifting balance of power. The Elvarians, tall and shimmering with crystalline skin, were arguing with the Drukhari over the rights to a newly discovered energy-rich asteroid field. The debate was heated, though polite by Drukhari standards. "Your claims are baseless," hissed a Drukhari delegate, his dark scales glinting under the hall's light. "This field has always been in the Looms sector. You cannot simply take it." The Elvarian ambassador raised a slender hand, the gemstones embedded in her palms glowing faintly. "Records show otherwise. The Looms sector belonged to no one for centuries. We only seek what is rightfully ours." Above the commotion, a quiet hum echoed through the chamber. It was soft at first, almost imperceptible, but it grew steadily like a heartbeat. The delegates froze, their arguments halting mid-sentence. From the walls, tiny projectors began to activate, casting a golden light across the room. A single voice came through the universal translator system, a voice that no one had expected to hear. "We are ready." There was a pause, a long silence that stretched across Zithera's assembly hall. Then a ripple of confusion spread. Who is this?" asked a Corlin delegate, his 6 eyes narrowing in suspicion. "It cannot be. Humans?" The voice spoke again, calm but firm. "We are humans. We have been silent for 5,000 years. We come now to answer a call that cannot wait." Shock swept the room. Many delegates exchanged uneasy glances. A few paled, their bioluminescent markings dimming. Humans, once the legendary architects of the galaxy, the unpredictable and brilliant species, were not just alive. They were making themselves known. The Galactic Assembly erupted into chaos. Some species demanded answers. Some called for immediate defense measures, and others simply stared, unable to comprehend the message. In the outer rim, far from Zithera, the hidden human colonies stirred. These colonies had survived in secrecy, scattered across isolated star systems. They had not forgotten the old wars, the betrayals, or the lessons that history had carved into their memory. Humans had evolved quietly, building technologies and strategies far beyond the understanding of most alien civilizations. On the bridge of one hidden human station, a young strategist named Lyra Kale stood before a vast star map. Her dark hair framed a face that was both calm and sharp, her eyes reflecting the constellations beyond the station's shields. "Lyra," said an officer beside her, a tall woman with mechanical enhancements on her arms. "We're receiving a response from Zithera. They've decrypted our message." Lyra nodded, her gaze fixed on the distant star systems. "It's time. Humanity has been quiet for too long. Now the galaxy must remember who we are." The human colonies had prepared for this moment for decades, though they had never spoken of it openly. They had stored their knowledge, preserved their culture, and trained generations in the arts of survival, strategy, and innovation. While the galaxy forgot them, humans grew stronger in silence. As the first human fleet left its hidden clusters, Zithera's assembly watched in disbelief. Ships of sleek, unfamiliar design moved through the void, shimmering with energy fields that the aliens had never seen before. Their shapes were elegant yet purposeful, built for speed and adaptability rather than sheer size. The Elvarian ambassador whispered, "Their designs, they are not like ours. They think differently." The Drukhari delegate's claws tightened on the edge of his platform. "It is impossible. They should not exist. This is a trick." But it was no trick. Humans had returned not with a cry of conquest, but with a message of readiness, a signal that carried centuries of planning and patience. Lyra Kale addressed her fleet through the station's communication network. Her voice was calm, steady, and filled with quiet authority. "Fleet Alpha, prepare for mobilization. Fleet Beta, secure the outer colonies. All units, maintain formation and remain alert. We are silent no longer." The galaxy will see humanity, not as a myth, but as a force of reason, courage, and innovation. In the halls of Zithra, alien leaders tried to interpret the human signal. Some feared it meant war. Others suspected humans were calling the galaxy to justice against the rogue factions that had spread chaos, while humans were absent. No one could decide, and that uncertainty only fueled anxiety. Meanwhile, human scouts moved silently between the stars, observing alien fleets, calculating trajectories, and assessing potential threats. They were careful, precise, and intelligent, never reckless. Humans had learned the value of patience. They knew the galaxy had grown complacent, and now it was time to remind it of what had been lost. Back on Zithra, a council of alien strategists gathered in a private chamber. Holographic maps hovered above their table, displaying human fleet positions in real time. 5,000 years, murmured a Lornak commander, his voice trembling slightly. 5,000 years they were gone, and now they return and we know nothing about them. They are humans, replied another, a winged Quarlan strategist. That is enough. They are unpredictable, intelligent, and fearless. Their silence was not weakness, it was strategy. Even as the council debated, a single truth became clear. The galaxy had underestimated humanity for millennia. Now, that miscalculation was about to be revealed. On the human station, Lyra Kale observed Zithra through the station's viewing array. The planet was alive with activity, unaware of the true purpose behind the humans' return. They think we have been silent, she said softly, but silence was our strength. Observation, preparation, patience, all of it has led to this moment. The galaxy will see humans as they have never seen us before. Her second-in-command, a calm and analytical officer named Jaren, nodded. And what do we say when they ask why we returned? Lyra's eyes glimmered. We say what is true. We return not for conquest but for purpose. We return to protect, to restore balance, and to remind the galaxy of the power of unity, intelligence, and courage. Humanity has survived because we never gave up. Now it is time for the galaxy to learn what that means. As human fleets moved closer to Zithra, the first messages of diplomacy, warning, and promise were sent to alien leaders. Humans did not demand allegiance. They did not threaten destruction. They spoke with clarity, honesty, and strategy. Yet even as their voice reached the assembly hall, uncertainty and fear spread. The aliens had lived in a galaxy without humans for centuries. They had grown confident, perhaps overconfident. And now the myth had returned, not as a story, but as living, breathing proof of the human spirit. In the skies above Zithra, the first human ships appeared as glimmers of silver and blue against the darkness. They moved in perfect formation, demonstrating coordination and precision that stunned every observer. In that moment, a new chapter of galactic history began. Humans, silent for 5,000 years, had returned not as shadows of legend but as masters of their destiny. The galaxy would never be the same again. Lyra Kale turned from the viewing array and addressed her fleet. Prepare for contact, she said. We go as humans and we act as humans. Let the galaxy remember the strength of the species that never surrendered. And with that, the silent giants of humanity stepped forward, ready to face a galaxy that had long forgotten their name. Far from Zithra, hidden in the shadow of the Virilia Nebula, the human colonies stirred. These colonies had been isolated for thousands of years, each growing its own culture, technology, and society. Humans had learned to survive in isolation, thriving without recognition, studying the stars, and preparing for the day they might be called again. On the surface of the planet Ardani, children trained in simulation arenas while their parents worked on developing advanced starships. Schools taught history not only of the past but also of strategy, ethics, and innovation. Humans had evolved beyond mere survival. They had become masters of adaptation and planning. Lyra Kale, now aboard the Central Command Station orbiting Ardani, studied the latest intelligence reports. Her eyes scanned multiple displays, tracking every alien movement, every fleet and patrol route across nearby systems. Humans were no longer silent observers. They were awakening with purpose. Commander Kale, said Jaren, her second-in-command, we've received updates from the other colonies. Fleet coordination is progressing faster than expected. Our technology gives us an edge we've never had before. Lyra nodded, her expression calm but determined. Good. We must unify our colonies as one voice, one fleet. Each isolated system is strong, but together we are unstoppable. 5,000 years of silence ends today, not with noise, but with precision. On the planet Savara, the mining colony had spent centuries developing advanced energy systems. Their ships, once used only for transport, had been retrofitted with energy shields, adaptive engines, and silent communication networks. The engineers, young and old, watched as their work was finally given purpose. "This is our moment," said a chief engineer, handing orders to a team of pilots. "Our ancestors dreamed of this. Humanity has waited patiently, and now the galaxy will see our true strength." Meanwhile, scouts moved quietly through the surrounding star systems. They observed alien patrols and listened to transmissions not to attack but to understand. Humans had mastered the art of observation. Knowledge was their greatest weapon, and patience their greatest ally. Lyra convened a council of leaders from the major human colonies. Each leader had spent generations honing their craft, developing unique expertise in strategy, engineering, and diplomacy. Though they had been isolated for centuries, they spoke as one when guided by purpose. 5,000 years have passed, Lyra began. The galaxy has forgotten us. They think humans are gone. That assumption is their mistake. We return not to conquer, but to act with reason, courage, and integrity. Our task is to answer the call for justice, to protect those who cannot protect themselves, and to restore balance. One of the leaders, an older woman named Celine, nodded. "We have grown in isolation, but we have not forgotten our principles. Humanity has survived because we value life, innovation, and unity. That is the message we carry." The human fleets hidden in distant clusters began to assemble. Their ships were sleek and adaptive, unlike the rigid designs of most alien civilizations. Humans had focused not on sheer size or firepower, but on versatility, intelligence, and coordination. Across the galaxy, alien observers watched in disbelief. Reports from Zithra reached nearby systems, spreading fear, curiosity, and amazement. Humans, long thought extinct, were not only alive but fully capable of mobilization. In one alien council chamber, a Lornak commander exclaimed, "This cannot be real. 5,000 years of silence, and now, humans, their technology is unlike anything we've studied. Their formations are precise yet fluid. They are different." "Yes," agreed a Corlin strategist, "and their message is not of conquest. It is a challenge, a reminder that the galaxy is not theirs to control." Meanwhile, Lyra and her council coordinated the fleets. Each colony contributed what it had developed over centuries: energy systems, shields, rapid communication networks, and advanced tactics. The fleet was growing not only in size but in capability. Humans were no longer isolated. They were a single, cohesive force. Lyra addressed her assembled fleet through the central command network. Her voice carried the calm authority of a leader who had seen the value of patience. "Today we leave our hiding places," she said. "We move with purpose, with caution, and with courage. The galaxy has forgotten us, but we will remind it of what humanity is capable of. We fight not for power, but for justice, protection, and truth. Let our actions speak louder than myths." The fleets moved in formation, emerging from hidden nebulae and cloaked regions. Their ships reflected starlight in a dazzling display, capturing the attention of alien patrols and traders alike. Humans were no longer shadows. They were a living presence. Alien fleets, initially skeptical, scrambled to intercept the emerging humans. When the first contact occurred, humans did not attack immediately. Instead, they demonstrated their strategy, intelligence, and willingness to communicate. On a patrol near the Arcanis system, a human scout ship encountered a Quarlin battle group. The Quarlin commander raised shields, preparing for engagement, but instead of firing, the human ship broadcast a simple message: "We observe. We do not seek unnecessary conflict. We are humans, and we are here to answer a call for justice." The Quarlin commander hesitated. For the first time in centuries, they faced a species that acted with reason, courage, and clarity. The human scout then executed a series of maneuvers that displayed intelligence, coordination, and adaptability. The Quarlin fleet realized that these humans were not merely survivors. They were masters of strategy. Back at the human command station, Lyra received updates from all scouting units. Every report was consistent. Aliens were both amazed and confused. Humans were demonstrating a level of coordination, flexibility, and problem-solving that no other species had shown in generations. Jaren turned to Lyra. They are recording everything. Every move we make. They do not understand our technology, but they understand our capability. Lyra nodded. Exactly. Observation is their first lesson. Humanity does not rely on brute force alone. We rely on thought, planning, and unity. That is why we are feared and respected, sometimes without even firing a shot. The colonies, previously separate and silent, now moved as one. Human engineers coordinated energy flows between ships, creating a network of shields that could adapt to multiple threats. Pilots executed maneuvers that seemed almost impossible, each one calculated and precise. Even alien strategists had to admit, humans were remarkable. At the heart of the operation, Lyra prepared for the first official communication with the Galactic Assembly. She knew the message had to reflect humanity's principles: strength without cruelty, courage without recklessness, and strategy without malice. She activated the Universal Communication System and spoke directly to the Assembly, her voice calm but resolute. We have been silent for 5,000 years. During that time, we have grown, learned, and observed. We return now not as conquerors but as guardians. The galaxy faces challenges that threaten peace, stability, and justice. We answer that call. Humans have survived because we value unity, intelligence, and morality. You will see that our silence was never weakness, but preparation. We are here. Across Zithra and nearby systems, the alien delegations listened in stunned silence. Humans were real. They were active. They were not threatening recklessly. They were deliberate, patient, and intelligent. Celine, observing from Ardani, whispered, "We are no longer myths. We are history in motion." Lyra's gaze swept across the fleets. She saw pilots ready, engineers confident, and colonies united. For thousands of years, humans had prepared for this moment. Now it had arrived. "Tomorrow," she said softly, "we take the first step toward reminding the galaxy of who we are. Humanity has been silent for centuries, but our actions will speak louder than any legend." As the fleets moved closer to the edge of known space, alien systems observed the human presence with awe, curiosity, and caution. The galaxy was waking up to a species it had forgotten, a species that combined courage, intelligence, and morality in a way no other had. And in that moment, humanity's silent awakening was complete. They were no longer hidden observers. They were active participants, ready to answer the call that had waited 5,000 years. The stars themselves seemed to acknowledge the return of humans. In the darkness of space, a fleet of silver and blue ships glided silently, each one a symbol of preparation, unity, and resilience. Lyra Kale stood at the command console, looking toward Zithra. "We have waited long enough. Humanity moves not to conquer, but to restore balance. Let them remember that we are here." The galaxy was about to witness the rise of humanity once more, a rise built on silence, patience, and the power of a species that never gave up. The galaxy had grown used to its own rhythm. Alien civilizations had expanded, traded, and maneuvered for centuries, assuming humans were nothing more than a myth of the past. Yet now, the sudden appearance of human fleets had shattered that illusion. Their ships shimmered in the void, moving with precision and coordination that no one had ever seen. The galaxy had been asleep, and humans were the alarm clock. On Zithra, the Galactic Assembly convened an emergency session. The chamber, usually filled with polite debate, now buzzed with tension. The Elvarians whispered urgently among themselves, while the Drakari tapped their claws nervously against their platforms. No one knew what to expect from the humans. "This is unprecedented," said a Lornak commander, his voice calm but tense. "We have never encountered a species that has remained silent for 5,000 years. And now they are active." A Quarlan diplomat replied, "They are not attacking yet, but that does not mean we should underestimate them. Their message alone has shown intelligence, coordination, and purpose. We must prepare for every possibility." While alien leaders debated, human fleets moved quietly but decisively. They did not rush. They did not fire indiscriminately. Their goal was clear: observe, prepare, and respond with precision. Lyra Kale stood on the bridge of the central command station orbiting Ardani. The room was filled with holographic displays of the galaxy, showing alien fleet positions, trade routes, and vulnerable systems. "Jaren," Lyra said, her tone calm but commanding, Update me on all fleet movements. I want every patrol, every scout, every colony aligned within the hour. Jaren nodded. All fleets report ready, Commander. Our scouts have identified 3 regions with high rogue faction activity. They are destabilizing systems and threatening colonies. Humans are the only ones capable of intervening quickly and decisively. Lyra's eyes narrowed. Then that is where we go first. But we act carefully. We observe before we intervene. Humans have strength, but wisdom is our greatest weapon. Far from human command, alien observers monitored the fleets with growing concern. Reports streamed into their communication centers, showing humans moving in perfect coordination. Alien commanders were shocked. No species had ever demonstrated such a combination of speed, strategy, and adaptability. Prepare the fleets, a Drakari warlord said. If humans intend to act, we must be ready. Yet as alien ships mobilized, they discovered a disturbing pattern. Humans anticipated their movements. Scout reports indicated that human forces often arrived at strategic locations before alien fleets even knew they were needed. It was as if humans could think several steps ahead, predicting not only where danger would appear, but how it would unfold. On the planet Sovera, engineers worked tirelessly to enhance their ship's capabilities. They had developed energy shields that could adapt to multiple threats, engines that could shift trajectory in seconds, and communication networks that allowed instantaneous coordination across thousands of kilometers of space. Humans had spent centuries perfecting these technologies, hidden from the galaxy, and now they were being used in real time for the first time. A young pilot, Kalen, prepared to lead a squadron on their first patrol near the Arcani system. I've trained for this my entire life, he said, adjusting his helmet. We are not just fighting. We are showing the galaxy what humanity is capable of. Lyra watched the deployment from the command station. Remember, Kalen, she said through the communication network, observe first. Intervene only when necessary. Humanity's strength is not in destruction, but in intelligence, strategy, and courage. As the squadrons moved into position, alien patrols noticed their presence. The Corlin fleet had been sent to investigate. They expected resistance or a simple retreat, but what they encountered was neither. Human ships approached with deliberate precision, forming formations that were both elegant and intimidating. The Corlin commander signaled for communication. Identify yourselves. State your intentions, a human voice replied calmly. We are humans. We observe. We act only when necessary. Our purpose is to address threats to peace and stability in this region. The Corlin commander hesitated. The message was not aggressive, yet the human fleet's movements displayed coordination and efficiency unlike anything he had seen. For the first time, he realized that humans were not just clever, they were extraordinary. Meanwhile, Lyra and her council identified the rogue factions responsible for destabilizing nearby systems. These factions had grown reckless over centuries, taking advantage of human absence to expand unchecked. Now humans could intervene not with the chaos of war but with strategy and precision. Fleet Alpha, Lyra instructed, move to protect the Lurian colonies. Fleet Beta, intercept the rogue faction near the Halvar system. Ensure all civilians are safe, no unnecessary damage. Humanity's goal is to restore order, not to destroy. Jaren added, our scouts report that the rogue faction is beginning to notice us. They are confused by our tactics and formations. We have the advantage of surprise combined with centuries of preparation. The human fleets moved swiftly, their presence alone causing panic among the rogue forces. Ships that had grown arrogant in human absence now found themselves outmaneuvered, outthought, and outplanned. Every movement was calculated, every decision deliberate. Humans acted with courage, intelligence, and restraint. At the same time, alien civilizations began to take notice. Messages flowed between councils and fleets. Humans were real, humans were active, and humans were unlike anything the galaxy had encountered. Some began to fear that humans could become dominant. Others realized that humans' return might be the key to stabilizing the galaxy, bringing justice and balance where others had failed. In the midst of this growing attention, Lyra's council worked tirelessly. Each decision was weighed carefully, each movement of the fleet considered. Humans had learned the value of patience. The galaxy was reacting, but humans were not reacting impulsively. They were guiding the events with foresight and wisdom. A report came in from one of the scouts. The rogue faction had attempted a preemptive strike on a civilian colony near the Halver system. The attack was small, but enough to cause fear. Lyra's response was immediate but measured. "Deploy Fleet Beta to intercept and contain," she said. "Ensure the colony is safe. No retaliation beyond what is necessary. Humanity acts with purpose, not recklessness." The fleet arrived before the rogue faction could execute further damage. Human ships moved with precision, cutting off escape routes and disabling weapon systems without harming the colonists or the environment. The rogue forces were bewildered. They had expected humans to attack recklessly, but instead, humans acted with calculated efficiency and respect for life. Lyra observed the success of the operation. "This is the first step," she said. "We show the galaxy that humans are not threats but protectors. That is how we reclaim our place, not through fear but through integrity and intelligence." Even the alien observers were impressed. The Corlin, the Lornak, and others began to send cautious messages. Some sought alliances, others offered advice. All realized that humans had returned not as conquerors, but as a force that could reshape the galaxy with wisdom and courage. Back on Ardani, Selene addressed a group of engineers. "Our technology has finally proven itself," she said. "But remember, our power lies not in our ships but in our minds and hearts. Humanity has endured for millennia because we are intelligent, adaptable, and ethical. That is our true strength." As the day drew to a close, Lyra reviewed the progress. Rogue factions had been contained. Civilians were safe and alien civilizations were beginning to take notice. Humanity had emerged from silence not as a threat, but as a reminder of what a species could achieve through unity, strategy, and courage. Jaren turned to Lyra. "They are starting to understand. Humans are not just survivors. We are something else entirely." Lyra smiled faintly. "Yes, and they will continue to learn. The galaxy underestimated humanity for too long. Now it is time for them to see why silence was our strength, and why our return matters." As night fell on Ardani, the human fleets rested but remained alert. Scouts continued to monitor alien movements. Engineers refined technologies and leaders planned the next steps. Humans had awakened, and the galaxy was beginning to realize that legends could be real, and that reality was far more impressive than myth. In the darkness of space, the first true signs of human presence glimmered. Ships moved silently, colonies coordinated seamlessly, and a species that had been silent for 5,000 years began to reclaim its place. The galaxy had been alarmed, confused, and curious. Humanity's next steps would determine whether they were feared, respected, or both. But one thing was certain: humans had returned, and they were not ordinary. Lyra Kale stood on the command bridge looking out at the fleets. "We are ready," she said softly. "The galaxy may not understand us yet, but it will. We act with courage, intelligence, and integrity. That is what makes us human, and that is what will define the next chapter of history." The stars themselves seemed to acknowledge the awakening. Humanity was no longer silent. Humanity was no longer hidden, and the galaxy would never be the same again. The galaxy had grown uneasy. Alien civilizations were no longer certain of their dominance. Rogue factions that had terrorized systems for centuries now faced a new reality. Humans were awake, organized, and moving with a purpose. For the first time in millennia, the galaxy saw not myth but action. On the edges of the Halver system, rogue forces prepared for what they assumed would be an easy strike against human patrols. They had studied the scattered messages from humans and believed their silence had meant weakness. They were wrong. Commander Kalen led a squadron of human fighters through the asteroid fields near the Halver colonies. Their movements were precise, their coordination seamless. Each pilot knew the other's positions instinctively, relying on years of training and simulations that anticipated countless possibilities. "This is it," Kalen said through the comlink. "Remember, we are humans. Precision and strategy first. Strength and courage second. Protect the colony. Avoid unnecessary destruction." The rogue ships appeared, sleek but rigid, expecting chaos and fear. Instead, they encountered calm, deliberate maneuvers. Human fighters anticipated their approaches, moving in formations that allowed them to block, contain, and disable ships without harming civilians or infrastructure. From the command station orbiting Ardani, Lyra Kale observed the battle through real-time feeds. She was calm, almost serene, even as the rogue forces attempted desperate maneuvers. "Hold formation," she instructed. "Do not rush. Every move has a purpose. Humans fight with intelligence, not reckless aggression. The rogue faction tried to strike the colony directly, but human tactics proved flawless, using adaptive shields, flexible energy fields, and diversion maneuvers. The human fleet created barriers and channels, guiding the enemy away from vulnerable points. One by one, the rogue ships were immobilized, caught in positions that left them no choice but to surrender. On the planet below, citizens watched as human ships coordinated above. Families who had grown fearful under rogue rule now felt hope for the first time in decades. Children waved at the sky, unaware of the scale of the strategy overhead but sensing the presence of protectors. "Look," a young girl whispered to her brother. "Humans are saving us." Above, Kalen's squadron executed the final containment maneuver. The rogue leader signaled surrender, realizing that humans were not only capable but also merciful. There was no unnecessary destruction. Humans fought to protect, not to dominate. Lyra Kale smiled faintly. This is how humanity leads, by example, not by fear. The galaxy will learn that strength can be paired with wisdom, and courage with ethics. Meanwhile, alien observers watched in stunned silence. Messages flooded the councils of Zithera, Lornak, and Quarlin. Humans were not only real, they were masters of strategy and morality combined. "The humans are extraordinary," said a Quarlin strategist. "They do not rely on brute force. They anticipate, coordinate, and act ethically. I have never seen anything like it." A Lornak commander nodded. "It is as if they have prepared for everything. Their patience and observation have made them unbeatable in ways we cannot yet comprehend." Back on Ardani, human engineers and pilots worked seamlessly. Ships were repaired, shields recalibrated, and communication lines optimized. Humans had spent centuries preparing not only for survival but for this moment, where every action mattered, and every decision had consequences for peace and stability. Lyra Kale called her council together. "The first challenge is complete, but this is only the beginning. Rogue factions will adapt. Some alien civilizations may misunderstand our intentions. Our next steps must be as deliberate as our first." Selene, one of the colony leaders, spoke. "We must show them humanity's strength goes beyond combat. We protect, we innovate, and we guide. We lead not by dominance but by example." Lyra nodded. "Exactly. Our next move is not just about victory. It is about sending a message. Humanity does not conquer recklessly. We act with purpose, ethics, and intelligence. That is why we are respected." Meanwhile, in the outer sectors, other human colonies began coordinated operations. One fleet secured trade routes threatened by rogue raiders. Another fleet helped repair systems damaged by centuries of neglect. Each action was a demonstration of human ingenuity and responsibility. A scout from the Ardani command station reported, "Colonies are coordinating faster than expected. Even independent groups are synchronizing their actions without direct orders." "Humanity's network is stronger than ever," Lyra responded calmly. "That is the advantage of centuries of preparation. Humans have learned to work together even when separated. Our unity is our strength." Alien fleets observing these actions grew increasingly cautious. Some sent envoys to humans, hoping to establish communication. Messages arrived on Ardani, polite but filled with curiosity. "We wish to understand your intentions. Your actions have surprised us. Are you a threat?" Lyra Kale answered with clarity. "We are humans. We have returned to ensure stability, justice, and protection for all. We do not seek conquest. We do not act recklessly. We are here to restore balance and defend those who cannot defend themselves." The response puzzled alien observers. Humans were capable of immense power, yet they exercised it responsibly. They were not motivated by fear or ambition alone. They were guided by ethics, intelligence, and unity. Kalen returned from the Halver system, his squadron intact and mission complete. "We contained the rogue faction without casualties to civilians or unnecessary destruction," he reported. Lyra smiled. "That is exactly what we teach. Human strength is measured not by how many we defeat, but by how many we protect and inspire." The next day, humans began coordinating with alien civilizations willing to accept their guidance. Colonies that had been oppressed by rogue factions now had protectors. Trade resumed safely. Systems once threatened by chaos were stabilized. Humanity's presence was no longer an alarm. It was a promise of order, hope, and intelligent intervention. In the Galactic Assembly, delegates discussed the humans' actions. Some were still wary. fearing what they could not fully understand. Others were inspired, realizing that the return of humans might finally bring stability to a galaxy fractured by centuries of selfish conflict. A Quarlan strategist addressed the assembly. "We have observed humans acting with patience, strategy, and ethics. They are capable, intelligent, and courageous. Perhaps we have underestimated the species of legend. Perhaps they are the example the galaxy has been waiting for." On Ardani, Lyra Kale addressed her fleet and council. "The galaxy is beginning to understand who humans are. We have not acted recklessly. We have not sought dominance. We have acted with intelligence, courage, and morality. This is the legacy we bring. The reminder that humans are more than myths. We are protectors, innovators, and unifiers," Celine added. "And this is only the beginning. Rogue factions will adapt, yes. Some alien civilizations may still resist, but humanity will continue to lead by example, showing the power of ethics combined with skill, courage, and intelligence." As evening fell on Ardani, human fleets remained vigilant. Scouts patrolled the outer systems, engineers optimized their technologies, and leaders planned the next steps. Humans had demonstrated their capabilities and principles, and the galaxy was beginning to see their true strength. In the darkness of space, human ships moved like glimmers of hope and determination. Their presence was not merely physical, it was a symbol. For 5,000 years, humanity had been silent. Now they were awake, acting with intelligence, courage, and morality that even the oldest alien civilizations could not ignore. Lyra Kale stood at the central command console, her gaze sweeping the fleets. "We have completed the first challenge. The galaxy is watching. We will continue to act with purpose and integrity. Humanity is no longer silent. Humanity is no longer hidden, and the galaxy will remember us, not as myths, but as living proof of what courage, intelligence, and unity can achieve." The stars themselves seemed to acknowledge this presence. Across countless systems, humans had become a force that could not be ignored. They had fought not recklessly but wisely. They had protected, not destroyed. And in doing so, they began a transformation that would redefine the galaxy forever. The legend of humanity was no longer a story of the past. It was alive, active, and growing, and the galaxy had only begun to see the full extent of its awakening. The galaxy had never seen anything like it. Over centuries, alien civilizations had grown accustomed to their own ways of ruling, trading, and managing conflicts. They had assumed that humans were long gone, vanished into myth, but now, humans had returned, not as legends or shadows, but as an active, intelligent, and moral presence. Lyra Kale watched the stars from the bridge of the central command station orbiting Ardani. Fleets of human ships glimmered across the void, silent yet powerful. They had moved carefully, strategically, and ethically, demonstrating a capability that no one had expected. "This is the culmination," Jaren said beside her, his tone calm but filled with pride. "The galaxy has seen what we can do. Rogue factions have been contained, and alien civilizations are beginning to understand us. Our next steps will define the future." Lyra nodded. "Yes, we do not seek to conquer. We do not seek to dominate. Humanity's return is about balance, protection, and leadership by example. That is what will earn respect, not fear." The rogue factions, once arrogant and destructive, had been reduced to isolated groups with no power to harm colonies. Human fleets maintained containment while aiding recovery and rebuilding efforts. Systems that had suffered neglect for centuries were now safe, and trade and communication began to flourish once again. On Zithera, the Galactic Assembly convened to discuss the human presence. Alien delegates debated fiercely, some out of fear, others out of admiration. The Quarlan strategist spoke first. "The humans have acted with precision, intelligence, and above all morality," she said. "They have intervened where needed, protected innocence, and stabilized systems. They are not just strong, they are wise. Perhaps we have underestimated the species of legend." A Lornak commander nodded. "They act with unity and coordination that surpasses anything we have seen." Their silence was not weakness, it was preparation. Humanity has returned to remind the galaxy of a standard we have forgotten. Meanwhile, human fleets continued their work. Colonies once oppressed by rogue factions were now safe and thriving. Infrastructure was repaired, resources distributed fairly, and communication networks restored. Human engineers and leaders worked tirelessly to ensure that every action sent a message. Humanity values life, fairness, and innovation. In one colony, children looked up at the sky, seeing human ships patrolling above. "Are they humans?" a girl asked, pointing. Her brother nodded, eyes wide. "Yes, they're helping us. They're protecting us. I've never seen anything like it." Above, Kalen and his squadron completed a reconnaissance mission. "We've stabilized the region without unnecessary conflict," Kalen reported. "Humans are not just survivors. We are protectors, innovators, and leaders." Lyra smiled faintly. "Exactly. Our purpose is greater than mere presence. It is action guided by ethics, intelligence, and unity. That is why humanity has survived and why we will be respected." As human fleets moved through the galaxy, many alien civilizations reached out with messages of curiosity and tentative friendship. Some had initially feared that humans would dominate, but their observations revealed the opposite. Humans acted with balance, courage, and ethical foresight. Lyra addressed the Central Command Council. "We have a unique opportunity," she said. "We can establish not only peace but a standard of cooperation, innovation, and protection across the galaxy. We will show that humans lead not by force but by intelligence and example." Celine, representing one of the oldest colonies, added, "We have lived in silence for centuries, growing quietly and learning. Now our actions speak louder than any legend. The galaxy will remember us not as conquerors but as protectors." The next phase involved direct diplomacy. Human envoys met with alien leaders, sharing strategies for cooperation, trade, and security. They offered guidance to civilizations struggling with internal conflicts and rogue elements. Every interaction emphasized ethics, fairness, and problem-solving, demonstrating that humans were capable of leadership without oppression. A Quarlan diplomat remarked, "They do not seek control. They act with integrity, intelligence, and foresight. That is a lesson for us all." In parallel, human colonies continued to innovate. New technologies developed in isolation over millennia were now shared carefully, allowing alien civilizations to advance without domination. Humans had become a source of inspiration, showing that patience, observation, and ethical action could achieve far more than aggression. Lyra prepared a final message to the galaxy, broadcast through every available channel. Her voice was calm, authoritative, and filled with hope. "We were silent for 5,000 years. In that time we observed, learned, and prepared. We return not to dominate, not to conquer, but to act with intelligence, courage, and morality. We have defended the vulnerable, stabilized systems, and shown that unity, ethics, and innovation are the greatest strengths a species can possess. Humanity has returned to remind the galaxy of what is possible when a species values knowledge, courage, and compassion. We are here, not as myths, but as proof of what humanity can achieve." Across countless systems, alien leaders listened. Some were astonished, some were inspired. All realized that humans had returned to reshape the galaxy not through fear, but through example. Even rogue factions that survived the initial containment began to understand. They could no longer rely on intimidation or reckless aggression. Humanity had returned with a power that was measured, intelligent, and ethical. Any attempt to challenge humans was not only dangerous but futile. On Ardani, Lyra surveyed the human fleets. Ships moved efficiently through star lanes. Colonies coordinated perfectly, and every action reinforced humanity's principles. She felt a quiet pride, knowing that humans had not only survived centuries of isolation but had returned to change the galaxy for the better. Jaren stood beside her. "The galaxy sees humans now," he said. "Our silence is over. Our return is complete," Lyra nodded. "Yes, and our work has only begun. We will continue to act with intelligence, courage, and morality. Humanity's legacy is not built on fear. It is built on protection, innovation, and unity. That is how we reclaim our place in the galaxy." In the following weeks, human fleets assisted alien civilizations with challenges ranging from trade disputes to natural disasters. Every interaction was an opportunity to demonstrate human ingenuity and ethics. Colonies that had once feared humans now sought their counsel, recognizing the strength of a species that combined courage with wisdom. Kalen led a team to assist a Quarlan colony recovering from a rogue incursion. Using adaptive shields, careful logistics, and precise coordination, humans helped rebuild infrastructure and ensure security. The Quarlan commander expressed gratitude, noting that humans acted with intelligence, efficiency, and respect. On Zithera, the Galactic Assembly convened once more. Delegates spoke with a mixture of awe and respect. The humans had returned, and their actions had changed the perception of the galaxy forever. A Lornak representative summarized it best. Humanity is extraordinary. They survived millennia in silence, and when they returned, they did so with purpose, intelligence, and morality. We can learn from them. We can respect them. And perhaps we can follow their example. Back on Ardani, Lyra addressed her fleet one final time. We have accomplished much, but our journey is ongoing. Humanity is no longer silent. We are no longer hidden. We act with purpose, courage, and intelligence. The galaxy will remember us, not as myths, but as proof of what is possible when a species values knowledge, ethics, and unity. The stars seemed to shine brighter as human fleets moved through space. Each ship was a symbol, each action a message. Humanity had returned. They had survived 5,000 years in silence, and now they had emerged stronger, wiser, and more capable than ever. Across the galaxy, alien civilizations began to adopt human methods of coordination, problem-solving, and ethical decision-making. Humanity's example inspired cooperation, innovation, and a renewed sense of hope. The legend of humans was no longer just a story, it was reality. And in that moment, humanity reclaimed its place among the stars. They were not conquerors. They were protectors, innovators, and guides. They were humans, and the galaxy would never forget them again. Lyra Kale looked out at the fleets, her heart filled with quiet pride. For 5,000 years we were silent. Now we are awake. Humanity is here. Humanity will remain, and the galaxy will see that silence was our strength, preparation was our power, and unity is our legacy. The galaxy had witnessed the return of humanity. It had seen courage, intelligence, and morality combined in ways that no other species could match. And as humans moved forward, they carried with them a message that would echo through the stars for generations. That the strength of a species is measured not by power alone, but by wisdom, ethics, and the courage to act for the greater good. The age of silence was over. Humanity had returned, not as shadows of myth, but as living proof that courage, intelligence, and unity could shape the destiny of the galaxy.